How's it going, everybody? Man, there's been a lot of, let's say, not super hyped videos on Marvel Strike Force for the last little bit, and I get it, and there's been a lot of stuff in-game that's been weighing on me, so I figured I'd try to get some stuff off my chest. I get asked a lot of the same questions that it's not always super fun, and I never have a good answer for you, so in this video I seek to sort of get all that out there in one format. I'm going to try and keep myself in control here. We're not going to be trying to yell or do anything crazy like that. But we're going to have a very kind of frank conversation here. I'm worried about the game. I am very worried about the success of Marvel Strike Force, which is obviously tied to my success as a content creator. And it's tied to all of our enjoyment of a game that some of us have put in years and years of playing. So let's talk about it. There has been a lot of bugs that are reported, are never fixed, and there's no communication as to why they're not fixed. Kahori in Stage 2 of Cosmic Crucible right now is taking 4 turns, and she's doing 2 passives instead of taking 2 turns and doing 1 passive, right? Because her whole kit, her gimmick, right, is she gets 200% turn bar, and if there's an enemy controller on the field, she hit the enemy controller who has the highest focus. For some reason, because the stage rule is like giving 100% barrier on spawn, or maybe it's the 100% damage part, whatever it is, it's activating her passive to go off twice. So she's getting 400% turn bar, and she's doing 2 hits into controllers. That was reported in the Envoy tournament before the season even started. Literally, that happened before the U32 tournament, right? I think. I don't know if it was ever addressed that they saw it, but it sure as heck hasn't been fixed. And I'll tell you, it's been addressed or reported by an Envoy every single week since. There's been no words, there's been no nothing. I don't know if they're just going to stay quiet until this season is done and never bring that room back, but something is broken, and it's causing for an unhealthy sort of style of play in Cosmic Crucible, at least in that stage concerning Kahori. It's not a fun gimmick. It's an completely overpowered gimmick, and I use that word very ironically. Mephisto exhausts in war. I've not seen this myself, but somebody did send me a picture. I'll make sure it's posted up there. Mephisto has 2 exhausts, but still does his pact. No one knows what's causing this interaction. It doesn't happen 100% of the time, but it is happening, where Mephisto will have 2 exhausts, and he'll still do his empowered attack, which is causing for extreme frustrations in war, which is a team-based game mode, where when you lose, it's not the same as Crucible. It's like, ah, crap, I just lost my Crucible, and I may not make Grandmasters this week. No, it's more like, oh, I just let 23 of my friends down because of a bug. Not great. Not great. Kit discrepancies. Yeah. Howard the Duck has a line in his kit where if he has 4 more Star Jammers, he stops the alteration of speed stat. So you would think that taking him into the Night Stalker team would stop Man-Thing from giving the speed stat to his team. But Nightcrawler stops the speed reduction of his allies from enemies. So like Nightcrawler stops old Emma, but Nightcrawler is also stopping the Starjammers when it's worded completely different. I was once talking with one of the developers, and something that they said that I completely agreed with, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a really good thing that this is known by you guys, so you know, like, you can't play with the speed stat or anything like that, because when a player enters a match, they need to be able to know what's gonna happen. When I take X weapon into Z fight, this is how it's supposed to play out. If the kits are not working properly or the stages are broken for certain characters, that's no longer true, and it is a horrible gaming experience. And that's something that has been happening more and more frequently lately. That Howard the Duck is just one example of many that have been happening. We're going to talk about a big one here in a little bit. The cadence of certain things that happen in this game, it's unreal. And it's been unreal, and people bother them in the Envoy program, I'm sure in the Player's Voice program, all the time about this, because it's driving players nuts, and every single time they run a Shadow King trial before the Old Man Logan trial, which is what they just did, I get asked, Dorky, how can I get my max Shadow King? I don't have Old Man Logan unlocked yet. I just started the game 4 months ago. It's like, well, unfortunately, you can't. Because Old Man Logan, well, he's kind of needed to get the max Shadow King. He's also kind of needed for the current Mutant Raid team. And Shadow King is kind of needed for the Battle World whole entire game mode, which we're going to talk about that as well. There is no reason why, at the very, very least, Old Man Logan isn't a permanent event. They have the technology. They've done it already, right? For all the Horseman characters, all the Mephisto trial characters. I don't understand how the Old Man Logan trial hasn't been made permanent and his, the milestone rewards be turned into whatever they need to be to give the maxed out Old Man Logan that way. He's an old stat character. He's actually needed for the current raids. Like, bro, why? This is just a source of frustration. And that doesn't even talk about Old Man Logan and Mephisto Diamonds. Again, old stat characters. Old Man Logan is, I believe, a year old now, and his diamonds aren't available. Now, I'll actually give them some leeway on this. Old Man Logan and Mephisto Diamonds were auctioned off. And then they were RNG'd off in certain orbs, right? Where you had to kind of pay a big price if you wanted a shot at these diamonds. But there's been zero communication as to when that exclusivity period is going to end. They've told us in the past about like exclusivity when I think it was like Penny Parker's diamonds were being auctioned. They were like, okay, it's like not going to be available for X amount of months so that they enjoy the exclusivity. Like, do that. Communicate that. Communication is their biggest weakness and would solve 90% of these problems. Honestly. The whole we want to be more transparency thing, like, okay, you talk the talk, walk the walk. Right? You have to actually do that. So if they told us like Old Man Logan and Mephisto Diamonds are not going to be available until summer 2025, we'd all be like, oh, what the hell? That's crazy. That's too long. But we wouldn't be wondering about every single blog. Is it going to show up in this blog? We wouldn't see data mines suggesting that there's going to be some strike store offers for Old Man Logan Diamonds, and we'd all get pissed off about it, right? Now, I think there's rumblings that it might be in another data mine suggesting it might be in the Intel store. So you're asking players now to choose between a super old character or the Gear Tier 20 that's going to be in Intel store. Which, for other characters, I would understand. Maybe for Shadow King, I would understand that. You put diamonds for him in the Intel store. He's a new stat character, this, that, or the other, right? Even that's kind of rough. Because players have been trying their best in Crucible to rank at the highest. And they begin in these Dark Diamond credits every single season and have had nobody worth a damn to use them on. And you don't give them somebody worth using it on until that person is no longer usable. Essentially makes those rewards from that store bullshit. Garbage. And that's not a way to run a game. That's not a way to incentivize people to want to try in the game mode. Yes, the game mode is fun. And that alone makes me like to play it as best as I can. But there needs to be a carrot for a lot of these players to enjoy it. And it's just ridiculous that's not the case. And then there's Shadow King and Odin Red Stars. Oh my god. Shadow King Red Stars were sold in the store when he was released. I believe it was in December. You know, we're pulling up 4 months away and even his Red Stars aren't out yet, let alone his diamonds. Red Stars for Shadow King should just be in the game. It shouldn't even be a question. They should just be dropped in. Don't wait for a week. Put him in the game. Odin Red Stars, I can be a little bit more lenient with this in my feelings about it, I should say. I don't make any decisions. But in my feelings for Odin Red Stars, I could feel a little bit more lenient about that because they did have a super exclusive Red Star event for Odin, the same way they do it for Professor X. Unlock Odin within 30 or 45 days of his Dark Dimension 8 release, and you're going to get this exclusive 7 Red Star Odin. You're going to kick butt. That, I think, that's way better than the Overpowered system, in my opinion. Those Red Stars definitely make a difference, right? But give us some communication. When's the next time Odin Red Stars are going to be available? I think they ended up giving everybody 4 Red Stars, no matter when you finish. I guess time will tell if they do that for Professor X, right? It's just the same conversation we're going to have 6 months from now, where it's like, what the hell's going on? I want to use this awesome character that I just chased for 6 months, doing my best on leaderboards, playing the game as hard as I could, getting my gear to 20 up, but without red stars, like, it's a very poor imitation. So how long do I have to wait now that you're arbitrarily setting for me to get that benefit? And again, just a little bit of communication would fix that issue. All right, next, communication. We just talked about this a little bit. Fallen Dimension Omega, we just had this event. There was a third run available. If you completed the Omega Dimension the first day it came out or early on in the second day it came out, and then you completed your second run almost immediately, you could access a third run. And by accessing that third run, you were able to get better leaderboard participation for the current Hitmonkey leaderboard that has mutant Gear to 20s on it, that has implications for your Professor X unlock timing. And it had a super awkward day. It ended at like 3 a.m. today, whereas the leaderboard doesn't finish until 5 p.m. today, which is crazy. Now, I know it's not a giant chunk of leaderboard points, but it is some. 8,000 points, I think, is the equivalent. Let me just check real quick. There were 2 points each. Yeah, it's the equivalent of 16,000 points, which is like a $10 offer at the very least, right? So now I got to do 3 runs. I'm currently at 667. So now if I wanted to break into the top 500, I'll have to spend less than somebody who maybe couldn't. Because I don't know, maybe they don't do content creation as their job, and they're not on to do the runs the second they're available to do content with people on stream. Crazy thought. I know some people are professionals, right? Just the fact that the third run wasn't advertised as being even possible, and that now we know why they put that arbitrary, like, 1 day, 16-hour timer on it, was to try and prevent people from doing the third run. If you knew that you had a tech limitation on this, you should have just had it be 1 run and done. If you can't control, like, how many times people can get those node rewards, you make it be 1 run with first-time rewards. You put a 9-day cooldown on it. You beat the mode once, you get the rewards, it goes to the leaderboard, good for you. But the other part of the Fallen Dimension Omega that I take issue with is that people are upset that they couldn't actually do the game mode. They feel that it was pay-gated. Now, you could accord for it. I accord for the majority of it. I spent a little bit of money, but nowhere near as much as a single character unlock. But they're not wrong. People are not wrong to be upset and call that pay-gated content, because if they had said at the beginning of the patch, hey guys, just so you're aware, there's going to be an Omega Dimension, and it's going to require the Vigilantes team, and if you save up your cores, then you two can tackle this extremely difficult mode, blah, blah, blah. Like, that would be some sort of communication. A lot of people would still consider it pay-gated, but that communication would go a really, really long way. A really, really long way. Alternatively, you don't pay-gate stuff. We're going to get to that. Hidden buffs found only in data mines. So the Vigilante team has basically Kiln Tower style buffs active in the Professor X Saga event. That is to say, they get their raid buffs, but not only that, they get their buffs even if they don't have X amount of members from the Vigilante team with them. Like Silver Sable, who's supposed to need 4 characters to do her incredible ultimate, doesn't. She can do it. In the Global Hero section, War Rules are active. So the Liberty team is like head and shoulders above everybody. In the Shadow King boss of the Global Heroes, the Shadow King clones are getting 100% speed bar. So they instantly take a bunch of turns on you, which basically made it so that Old Man Logan, if he was there, would take a bunch of turns and instantly kill you. So you literally couldn't bring Old Man Logan. I think I saw either a data mine or maybe it was official communication. It was sometime this morning that suggested they removed him as a suggested character. In fact, I can go in there and check. It would be in the Shadow King trial. Let's see. They did indeed remove him. It now is only recommending Liberty and Jean Grey. So I can actually show you guys that. Let's go over here, take this down, and you can see they took him out. So now it just says Liberty and Jean Grey. There's no Old Man Logan. So it's good that they took it out, but why has there not been communication from their end that Old Man Logan is like a detriment to you. We are sorry for recommending him. Contact support. We will refund your mutant pieces. We will rewind your Old Man Logan. I think that is like the least they could do, given that people are spending extra amounts of money to try and get through this section to get those red stars, because who knows what that's going to be available, like Odin, right? So, and that's like a couple of the hidden buff things. There's also, I think Cosmic Crucible is active in the Crucible section, or sorry, in the Cosmic section of the Presser X stuff. The Vigilantes have their raid buffs in the Fallen Omega Dimension node, which is fine because they're the only characters you can use, but why not say that? And there's been other such occurrences that have happened before, okay? So yeah, if you're not checking in with your content creators, with the data mines, again, it goes to what that developer once said to me. You will have no idea as to what the hell you're walking into until it's kicking your ass. And that's a horrible gaming experience. Overpowered. I know we're going to talk about Overpowered. The tone deaf on Overpowered, they communicated not too long ago that Blitz of all modes and Showcases, which is even crazier, well, that's going to get Overpowered put in. Until you're ready to either say to the community, Overpowered is staying exactly the way it is, the damage stat is not changing, we're not going to scrap the system, it is what it is. Until you're ready to say that and absorb whatever this is, say nothing. Or, if you're not willing to say that at all, say nothing. But when you bring up something like Blitz, it's like, okay, tower mode, I guess it's going to be available there. It's like, okay, so that's going to be used against us, but that's not true either, because if we check more into Overpowered, first of all, it's a lazy difference maker. We can talk about that in a second. But it's faked in PvE. In PvE, Scopely has always, and will always, and should always manipulate their characters, right? When they give Photon in the Omega Dimension 224 speed stat instead of her 128, it's like, crap, I should have seen this, but hey, I could back out, so it's not the end of the world. You give them extra damage stat, you give them extra health stat, it boosts up the numbers. You've always done that. So Overpowered is pretty much faked in PvE. The only thing Overpowered will eventually do is limit something. Where I could see Overpowered actually making a difference in PvE is, say, if we actually had a working PvE game mode where we had infinite scaling waves. And so if my character's gear tier 19 and the first wave starts at gear tier 14, I can kind of beat all the way up to like gear tier 19, and then I face the gear tier 20 and maybe I can wrestle it out from them, or maybe I can get one shot if I'm not careful, and then I hit, gear tier or Overpowered 12 characters, and all of a sudden, oh my god, they're crushing me, and it is what it is. I got limited by Overpowered eventually. They didn't have to manually put in stats for, 20 variable waves that they could have spawning in, right? That's how I could see it be implemented, and I think that'd actually be an okay thing. But say that. Don't say we're coming in to switch up Blitz and Showcases. Showcases, we don't even use our own characters. They give us the characters we use for the first chapter. The second chapter is just like super weak enemies that you just blow over. It's kind of crazy. For Overpowered, I think so the lazy difference maker, just giving 50% damage is super lazy. I feel like Overpowered honestly should have just been a new progression system that, instead of just kind of going into our current rosters, because it does feel, and Mobile Gamer was saying this, and he's right, it feels like you nerfed my other teams where they used to work here. So you buffed player A's teams by nerfing player B's teams, is what you ended up doing, right? It should have been a new progression path. Something that players can build into or buy into if they want to, that can eventually equate to 50%. Not like snap your fingers and the game balance, the meta, the matchmaking, a lot of it goes up in flames. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that. And if you disagree with that and you have a logical reasoning for that, I'm all ears. But at the end of the day, what's going to happen is I'm going to say, yes, but you're a knowledgeable player. And you're in the weeds on this. And so am I. So I can acknowledge that Overpowered is now something that I have to check the same way I used to have to check if a character has 7 red stars back in the day. It used to be like, okay, so I have my Weapon X team and I got to beat this Dormammu Darkhold team. Okay, well, how many red stars does the Morgan Le Fay have? How many red stars does my Omega Red have? Okay, I can get that done because of that check. So now when I do matches, instead of just being like, okay, this team comp beats this team comp because kits went crazy, I look at the overpowered level of a certain character and I can acknowledge, okay, Noir gets speed bar. If I go in underpowered, he's going to just annihilate people. So it's a check I have to do. It's not the end of the world, but I still think it's lazy. I think there's a better way that it could have been done that would have honestly been more creative, more interesting, and they could have made money on it. Anyway. And I think there's very unhealthy niche characters. A character like Endgame Thanos, where even if you stun trauma Endgame Thanos, he still does his passive, take all your buffs, annihilate your face. He's one of the best characters in the game to bring to Professor X, so a lot of people have seen him be overpowered. And so he is like one-shotting a brand new Vigilante team, which they have low stars. I mean, maybe there's an argument that that could be the case. Should be the case? I don't know. I don't feel like a passive that is unavoidable unless you do percentile damage from a character like Apocalypse's Empowered Punch or Minerva's Ultimate. I don't think that that is healthy. The same thing for a character like Omega Sentinel. Omega Sentinel is a much less case, a less egregious case, because if you stun her, she stops doing her passive, right? But if you can't get to her and she's doing her passive, I had an Omega Sentinel hit my Kahori, who is max build, except Michael Hori is gear tier 19.5. Doesn't have gear tier 20 on, doesn't have that overpowered. The Omega Sentinel, no offense up, no Iron Patriot to make her hit harder. Hit my Kahori for 5 million damage. Completely nullified what should have been a pretty decent counter. I still would have lost, by the way. And that's almost the most frustrating thing, is that my opponent put a super smart team up that I was going to lose to anyway, but then it got trivialized because of the overpower difference. Had I lost because his team was just super clever, which it was, shocker, some big spenders are also really smart at the game. They're really good at the game. I know, it's crazy. I would have felt so much better about that loss. And I can see why other people say, oh, this is just overpowered difference. This guy's stupid. He just bought his way to the way. No. He crushed me because he had a really good team. And he had Professor X, which let him stretch me out. There's a lot that goes into overpowered that I think is way too heavy-handed. I understand what they wanted to do. They wanted to make spenders feel better. And I don't necessarily hate that. I think there's way better ways to do it. And I mean, maybe we can do a video on that. I don't know. But having different ways to measure success would have been great. Having a new progression path would have been great. Anyway. And the communication is FOS. If you know what FOS means, let me know in the comment section below. But it's not the nicest thing to say in the world. They want to be transparent. Anyway. I don't believe you. PvE versus PvP. PvP has improved. Let's take Overpowered out of it. PvP in a lot of fronts has improved. I think them trying to simplify war was actually a really good step for a lot of the community. Giving these like cookie cutter teams get this, is it inspiring? No. Is it very creative? No. Is it better to put those cookie cutter teams up instead of add like a Mephisto to it? No. So the creative people still had a better team, but the uncreative people still had a better option from what they would normally do. So I think that was good. Cosmic Crucible, the U32, these are fun things they're doing that make PvP more fun. Cosmic Crucible refreshing like every 6 weeks with new rules instead of every 12 weeks or 15 weeks or whatever the heck it was before. That's great. I think PvP has actually been very much improved upon. PvE is starting to improve. But for who? Right? I think Temporal Cataclysm was a lot of fun, but people felt like they were gated out of it, which they weren't because there were different difficulties to it. There was no rewards to it, so people didn't super love that. The Omega Dimension we talked about, like that was really, really fun PvE content. But you could absolutely make the argument that it was pay-gated. I won't say 100% pay-gated, but it was pay-gated. The least they could have done is communicate. What they should have actually done is just waited till the free-to-play release of Hitmonkey came out, or at least the free-to-play release of Silver Sable came out, and then run it with the communication to follow it. And that, man, there's so many people that I've talked to that loved the Fallen Dimension Omega. So many people have said, like, I hope they do a Omega Dimension for every single new team that comes out. Because now I know the team better. I played the team in this insane setting. I had a lot of fun doing it. The rewards, it was for a leaderboard. And very minimally for a leaderboard. You also got the Well, no, you got the costume from the super easy mode, didn't you? It was just for the leaderboard. It was a very pitiful amount. But people loved it so much more than the super boring showcases. So they should do it more often. That would definitely make PvE better, right? But do it after people have unlocked the team. Gated content is starting to pick up. That's a lot of people feel that way. I think with proper preparation, you can kind of get around it to a certain extent. But again, I don't think everybody should be expected to be as in the weeds as someone like I am. Somebody shouldn't, like, not everybody should be like, oh, I need to save cores so I can have them ready to unlock this team in case they're needed for something like this. Or, oh, I need to do the Pocket Dimension immediately so I can run it again in time because they never disclosed there was a 2-day wait on it or that a third one would be possible or this, that, or the other. Like, Pocket Dimension literally should have been, you get it done once and then it goes on a 9-day cooldown. Congratulations, you beat Pocket Dimension. I hope you had fun, right? That's my 2 cents anyway. And they strictly said they don't want to gate content. So this kind of flies in the face of that, in my opinion. And then Battle World. You know what? I think all of my frustration, literally all of my frustration, can be traced back to was it October, when Battle World was launched. And I know they're trying to improve it. I know they are. I know they've taken a lot of feedback. The first initiation of Battle World was trash. Because it was just like, okay, use this X mode team to beat the node that has X mode rules applied to it. And they've definitely improved on that. But it is still the same sort of content. It's raids, right? It's still raids at the end of the day. There's a team that's going to be best for it, and it's going to be whatever the team is, and that essentially makes it raids. I think they need to lean into like that vampire mode stuff that we had and do stuff like that. And PvE needs like a radical change. It really does. Especially if people are starting to feel the way a lot of people feel about Overpowered. PvE needs to be able to be the home for those players. Doing the same raid nodes every single day or the same Battle World nodes every single day is not engaging content, right? And this game, the potential of this game is crazy. The potential of this game is crazy. And let's talk about the new stuff that is being overshadowed. There's actually a lot of new stuff coming to the game, but nobody's talking and nobody cares about it because of all the compiled issues. And then the big one, Overpowered, that's kind of ruining it for everybody. We have free legendary coming, free legendary characters coming. We have a new store that's coming that's going to make it so that every single time a war or crucible or raid finishes, I have a currency that's actually worth a damn, right? That's exciting. We know there's a rogue-like game mode coming. I saw the developers, I met them, would talk to them quite a bit. The passion they have for it, the vision they have for it, it looks like it's going to be a really, really good time. But nobody's talking about it anymore because we heard about it, a couple months back? And nothing since, right? But I think it was hinted that it was going to be a Q2 thing, which is coming up. So, like, that should be around the corner, but nobody's talking about it. Community engagement is at an all-time high with them. For better or worse, right? Like, they've said a couple of things that I know a lot of the communities use against them, but the Strike Spots Pathfinder's doing, the Crucible tournaments they're doing, all the promo codes they're doing, all the different videos that they put out, they're hyping up the Annihilus thing. They're making the game feel more thematic again, but everybody's still in the dumps right now. I think that there's a lot of good stuff coming. I am very excited about the potential in Marvel Strike Force. But lately, there's been something back here that's an alarm bell going off. That something's wrong. Why is Kahori's room not fixed yet? Why is Howard the Duck and the Starjammers, why can't they hit the mark on that? Right? Why do they keep bringing up this Overpowered stuff until they have something that's either finalized or a concession? I don't think concessions are going to be made to the community. Why? Why is there so many questions and it's about none of these things? I'm concerned about Marvel Strike Force. And it used to be like, oh, I feel apathy from the players, and that's the biggest red flag for me. I feel apathy from the developers on everything we spoke about, except for this stuff here. I feel like they're only looking forward at this stuff here. And all the issues of the past were tucked into a cabinet and are being ignored. But those issues, they keep repeating over and over instead of learning lessons from them and implementing those lessons for future content. And that is actually the biggest red flag I've ever had. Is I feel like when I report something, why? Why should I bother reporting an issue when it's just not looked at? I think I feel helpless. I feel helpless that there are things in this game that at least appear to me, and I could be wrong because I'm not a developer, I'm not a coder, I'm nothing like that, to me feel like they should be a one-day fix. And they're not. And that to me is a huge red flag. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this video. I definitely didn't yell, so that's good. I really think this game has a lot of potential. I've said that in almost every single video where I'm trying to be as critical as possible. It always comes back to, I think there's a lot of potential in this game. We have so many really cool, interesting kits. We have so many different ways that gameplay can come into each other. It's the Marvel IP. It's a home run. I do not understand why it's either not enough manpower putting behind something, or the priorities are just all wrong. The priorities are just all wrong. Let me take my house, for example. If I need to I want to refurbish my basement, okay? Yippee, it's time to refurbish my basement. The ceiling's not done. We're gonna get a floating roof. This is all great. That's perfect. Ah, shit, we just had a hailstorm and there's a bunch of holes in the ceiling, in the roof. Well, I'm more excited about the basement. Let's go do the basement first. And, it might rain a couple times and might get a little bit of mold in the attic, but hey, I'll have a new basement. Nobody thinks like that. Ever. Ever. You fix your home before you try and improve on it. So fix the home. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. This was too long of a video. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything in Marvel Strike Force you're excited about? Is there anything on this list that I didn't hit? There was a lot of things that I was like, okay, this seems like nitpicking, but maybe it's not. And so if there's any sort of bugs that I missed here, if there's any sort of cadence, you're like, what the hell is going on with this? Communication that was just either a lie or a miscommunication or an omission of communications. Any other thoughts on Overpowered? Let's try and keep Overpowered. We've talked about Overpowered enough. I get it. You guys hate Overpowered. I think Overpowered is stupid and lazy, but it's not going anywhere. PvE versus PvP. How have you guys felt about PvP lately? How have you felt about PvE lately? Let me know in the comments below. For now, stay happy, stay healthy. Have yourselves a wonderful day. I'll talk to you guys next video where, I don't know, I'll drink a bunch of Coke or something so I'm hyper and having fun. All right, bye for now, guys.
That's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Stay happy, healthy, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.